Yeah, hello everybody. Good evening. Trust we are all doing great. Thank you for joining another session of the Nigeria M365 Intermediate Mentorship Program. I think we have quite a number of persons here. I can see Obi John, Augustine, Sunday. Your mentor is here, Emmanuel Oyimafu. Oluwa how you doing? And your fair things. I think I'm familiar with these names: Theodora, Felix, Mercy, Michael. Yeah, Michael, Isaac, Cephas, and Ikechukwu. Yeah, good to have you guys here. Yeah, good evening. So, Michael, is this your first time of joining the class? Okay, I think you're all muted. Let me just.
Hello, Rafiah. Good evening, Rafiah.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy Sunday.
Oh, yeah, I wish you the same. I wish you the same.
This is not my
So,
first time. I've been joining.
oh,
I've been.
oh, okay,
This is not my first time. Like yesterday, I tried joining the class, but network was bad.
okay. This is the first time I'm seeing you. Okay, good to know that you've been joining. Okay, you're unable to join yesterday, but have you seen the class recording that was shared?
Yes, I've been
Oh,
following up the activities of the class.
okay. So, you're welcome once again. We have Bruno, our Christian. While we're waiting for others to join, Ugoma. Yeah. I hope you guys are going through your recordings and trying to reproduce. I strongly want to believe that you all understand what has been taught. And just like we
Yes.
advise, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your mentors specifically, right? When I say specifically your mentors, I see some people asking questions on Power Automate, and yeah, you can just they are available for you. You have their names, you have their contact numbers. Just reach out to them individually, and they
Okay.
would answer your questions, right? So if you need any resources, whatever it is, please feel free to reach out to your individual mentors. They are in the
All right.
best position to answer your questions. So I think
Thank
so
you.
far so good. Yeah, you're welcome. So far, so good. We don't have any pending task. Everyone has their account created, and the recordings for the classes from the very beginning to yesterday has been shared. We started with the Power Apps the last 2 weekends, and this weekend we started with the Entra ID, and Emmanuel Oyimafu is going to continue with you today on Entra ID. Please, if there's anything he explained yesterday that you don't understand, do well to ask him before he starts today's class. I know he gave you, I think he did give you an assignment yesterday as regards creating your own bulk users, right? So try and do that on your own, and you can share your results with him. Without taking much of your time, I would allow Oimafu continue from where he stopped yesterday. You can drop your questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and it will be attended to at the end of the class. Thank you once again for your time. Emmanuel,
Thank
if you're here, everyone can
Yeah,
actually speak. Yeah, the speaker is or the mic is available for everyone. If you want to have an interactive class with them, ask them questions, please go ahead and do that. And I think the recording has been set to automatic. Uh, okay, yeah, automatic. So I don't always have to do that every meeting. Thank you, Emmanuel. Welcome. to today's class. I'll be leaving you with the mentees for now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Rafiah. I appreciate the warm welcome and thank you, mentees, for joining us today for this section because today is weekend. Ideally, we all are supposed to be resting, but you still found time to join us today. I really appreciate you guys for joining the section today. So, is my voice audible before I continue?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you clearly.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, we
Thank you.
can hear you.
Okay, just like Rafia has said, I would like us to use this time to ponder on what we learned yesterday. So I would like us to just unmute our mics and probably maybe someone else want to talk and we'll just conflict ourselves. I would like us to raise our hands up if we want to talk. Because I want us to talk about what we learned yesterday. So I need like 2 or 3 volunteers that could just share what we learned yesterday so that if there's anything I need to touch and go deeper into then or explain, I'll just explain. So I need volunteers, please. I need your hands raised, or I can call names because I know the people that joined yesterday. Like Benga now. Benga was in the class yesterday and he's here today. So, but I just want us to volunteer. So raise your hand, please. Okay. Nobody's actually raising his hand. Okay, that means everybody understood what we did yesterday. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and start. Let me just share my screen. If you can see my screen, you could just use the reaction sign to let me know. So can you see my screen? Just gives the reaction. Okay, Michael's hand is raised. Michael, you can go ahead, please.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Michael.
Please, I was unable to join the class yesterday, and I was unable to join the class yesterday, and I don't know what was discussed in the class. Please, I would like you to do a rundown, a brief of what was discussed yesterday in the class, so that some of us that were unable to join the class can have an idea of what was discussed yesterday. Thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem. So I'll just
Thank,
do a rundown of what was discussed yesterday. Thank you, Michael, for that.
thank you,
So
sir.
yes, so yesterday I explained the concept of Microsoft Entra ID, how Microsoft Entra ID can be used for user management, and how Microsoft Entra ID can be used to manage authentication and also authorization. And the first thing we did before we started the class was we logged into the Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center, which I'm going to show us again how we can log into the Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. I'm going to close all these tabs here. So we'll go directly to the Entra ID Admin Center. So there are 2 ways you could log into Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. So one method is using this website here, cmd.mx. If I refresh this page now, I'm going to see it pop up. So let me just open it on another tab, cmd.mx. Okay, right now secured. Okay, let's go through the route of office.com. It's maybe I might need to change my browser. Let me bring. Okay, Michael, you can drop your hands since your hands is still raised.
Okay, okay, sir. Let me do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to open another browser. Okay, it's coming up now. I wonder what was wrong before. Okay, here now, I logged into office.com. So because I've signed in before, that was why it didn't give me that option to put my username and password. But let's assume that I have not logged in before. It's going to ask me for username and password. Here now, if you log into your own tenant, which was created for you by the community, you're going to see admin here. Let's just click on admin. So once it loads, we are going to see the portal and how it looks like. Okay, so the admin center has loaded. Let me make my screen bold so everybody's going to see it clearly from their end. Okay, fine. So this portal now that we logged into from office.com homepage, we just clicked on admin. It took us to Microsoft 365 admin center. Microsoft 365 admin center itself. If we want to see other admin center from Microsoft 365 admin center, we'll just click on show all here. Once we click on show all, it will show us other admin centers that we have, such as security, compliance, Microsoft Intune, identity, Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, Power Platform, and other admin centers. These are not the only admin centers we have. If I click on all admin centers now, we are going to see other admin centers that we have. Let me just click on it so that we're going to see that we have more admin centers. We could see that we have Power BI here. We have search and intelligence. So all these are admin centers. But from the pane here, we can only see just a few. But it doesn't mean that these are the only admin centers we have in Microsoft itself. We have other admin centers such as Microsoft Defender for Identity and the likes. Here now, our focus for today is Microsoft Identity, which is Microsoft Entra ID. Yesterday in my slide, there was a part of the slide that made mention of Microsoft 365 uses Microsoft 365 Admin Center manages users using Microsoft Entra ID. Anything user management, the ideal place for user management is Microsoft Entra ID. But it doesn't mean that you can't create users from Microsoft 365 Admin Center. If you come to active users here now, you will see all the users in your environment. And if you want to create a user, you could create a user from the admin center itself, from Microsoft 365 admin center. But the ideal place to create users is from Microsoft Entra ID, because if you create a user from Microsoft Entra ID, you get to add more features to that user account. So today we'll look at Identity Admin Center. Let's not forget, if you want to log into Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you go to a browser, you search, you go to office.com. So once you go to office.com, you'll be able to access admin from this pane here. So once you click on admin, it takes you to Microsoft 365 Admin Center like we have here. And from there, you click on show all, just like we did, and we saw the admin centers that are available. And we also click on all admin centers, and we saw all other admin centers that are not here. So let's just click on identity. So we'll just go straight to the identity admin center. Okay, we'll just wait for it to load. Sometimes it could be network. So it will soon load and we're going to see all our active users here in the Microsoft Entra ID admin center. Okay, let me refresh the page again. So I'm getting an error message here that Microsoft AAD IAM extension failed to load. Visit portal for self-help. Okay, let me do something. Let me try accessing it from portal.azure.com. Let's see if we are going to get the same error. So yesterday, somebody asked question that from Azure, can we manage Microsoft Entra ID? The answer is yes. So you can manage your Microsoft Entra ID admin center from Azure because Microsoft Entra ID is one of the services provided by Microsoft Azure. That's why under the Azure services here, we have Microsoft Entra ID. I'll just click on the Microsoft Entra ID here. Let's see if we're going to see the users. Okay. I was able to see my users, but I didn't see them from the main page here. Probably I just need to do some refresh. But if you want to log into Microsoft Entra ID, that is just the way to log into Microsoft Entra ID. You just go to office.com. From office.com, you pop into the M365 Admin Center, then you click on Identity. From Identity, you can now go to Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center, which is taking time to load on this browser. But we already have it open here. So here now we have under manage, we have users, we have group, we have external identities, we have roles and administrator, we have administrative units, and we have dedicated admin partners and enterprise application, devices, app registration, identity governance, application proxy, and even licenses, then cross-tenant synchronization. Yesterday, we focused on user management. The first thing we did was we deleted the user. Then we tried restoring the deleted user back, which we are going to still practicalize today before we go into what we have for today. So let me just see what's going on here. Let me see if I can use another browser. Okay. Let me try a private browser from here. Sometimes browser might be causing issues, so I want to try another browser. Let me see if I'll get the same error. So I'll sign in. At least this is a perfect example to show us how authentication works. So let me just click on sign in. So I'll just sign into the tenant itself. I'll provide my username. It's already here, so I'll just select it to save time. And I'll click on sign in. And I'll say no. Let me make the screen wide enough. So I'm just going over the same thing again. To sign into the admin center from office.com, you click on admin, and from admin, you see other admin centers. Then you select the one you want to work on. If you want to work on security, you click on the security admin center. If you want to work on compliance, you click on the compliance admin center. But today our talk is on Microsoft Entra ID. So that's why we are focusing on identity. So let's just wait for the page to load. So we could just go to identity admin center. Okay. I'll just click on show all. Let me make the screen big. Then from show all here, I'll now click on the admin center I want to work on, which is identity. Okay. What's wrong with my tenant? Okay, let me try to switch to another tenant. Let me just get my tech tier tenant. 1 second. Okay. Just hold on. I'm looking for the account. Okay. Through. Okay, I'll just provide the code on my authenticator app so I can sign into the tenant. Let me just get it quick. Where's the code? Okay. Microsoft Authenticator app. Okay. It's my account. So let me see if this will have issues loading the tenant information. Still having issues. Okay. Okay, Rafiah, please, could you help me try from your end if you can log into Microsoft Entra ID? Let me know if the problem is from my end or if it's general. Isaac, I can see your hands is raised up. You can ask your question. Okay. Network issue. That's
Good
true.
evening, Joseph. Oh, Emmanuel.
Yeah,
Good evening, Emmanuel.
good evening.
Yeah, please, I wanted to find out if there is slide for this topic.
Yeah.
If we have a slide for this.
Yeah, there's a slide. I'll share the slide. But I presented the slide
Okay.
yesterday. I presented the slide yesterday.
Okay, but you've not shared it.
Yeah, I've not shared it.
Okay. Please try to
Yeah.
share with us. So much
Okay,
appreciate that. Please. Okay,
I
thanks
will.
a lot.
I'll share. I'll share. So I'm having challenge in fetching my tenant details. So I want to just view the error properly, so at least I will know where the error is coming from. Yeah. Okay, can someone else try to sign into Microsoft Entra ID? You can just share your screen.
I'm
Let's
trying to do,
see.
I'm trying to do that now with my phone.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Because I don't know why my network is, whether my network or I could use. Yeah, everything works here. So let's just confirm.
Okay, so I'm able to access Entra ID.
Okay, probably maybe it could be my network then. So please, can you share your screen? So maybe we could just use your screen for demonstration.
Okay, let me see if I can quickly join the meeting from here.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Oyimafu. Mr.
Yeah.
Emmanuel.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I have a funny question. In a situation where you're working and you have this kind of network issue, how do you rectify it? And that's the
Okay.
only network you have. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's the only network I have. That's a very
Yes,
tough one, though. It's a very tough one because, like, if that's the only network I have, ah, what will I do now? What I'll just do is if what I want to do is just user creation, I'll use I'll use Microsoft 365 Admin Center to create users if that one is accessible. So that's just what I will do.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph, for sharing your screen. So okay. Today now we are looking at actually we want to look at what we did yesterday, stroke today. So we'll just go to users. So we'll just practicalize how to delete a user and restore the user back. So Mr. Joseph, can you help us delete lab rats or any user so we could just show how to restore a deleted user back? So from here now we have all users listed. So we are going to be deleting a user and restoring the user back. But although this tenant we are using is our main tenant, so can we use our test tenant, please? Because this is M365 from what I can see here. Okay. Okay. So we can just delete any of the users. Okay. So once you select a user and you click on delete, you automatically delete the user and the user moves to deleted users immediately. So from deleted users, we are going to see the user we just deleted. So we could see other deleted users here, but you could click on the one you just deleted and restore the user. Kindly help us click on that one and restore. So once we click on restore now, the user will be back to active users. So it will tell you, do you want to restore selected users? Once you say yes, then if you refresh this page now, you'll discover that the user will not be here again. The user will be back to active users. So let's go back to active users. Let's confirm that that user is there. Okay. Okay, so it's loading. Search. Okay, yeah, the user is back. So let's say peradventure now, you know that you mistakenly deleted the user. Let's say your HR came to you and say, okay, this person is no longer working in the organization. They want to offboard the staff. And maybe later, for some reasons, they now decided to employ the user back. If it's within the space of 30 days, you can restore the user. All you just need to do is to go to deleted user and restore the user back. So that's how to restore a deleted user. And also yesterday, yeah, okay, I think there is a noise in the background. And also yesterday, we created users from the GUI, and we created bulk users using CSV on in the class. So today now we want to look at how to manage groups, how to use groups for automation, for automation. So that's what we are going to look at today, using groups for automation. Yeah, so okay, if you're not talking, kindly mute your mic so that we won't. So you could keep the questions coming. So we'll just attend to your questions. Okay. So Joseph, please kindly help me go to users. So we could just create a group, then see how we can manage that group. Okay. So under users now, there are several things we can do here. Because yesterday I didn't show us how to reset a user's password. If maybe someone in your organization just come to you now and say, okay, I forgot my password and I want to reset my password, all you need to do is you click on the particular user. So Joseph, please, could you help me click on any user? Let's just demonstrate resetting password. Okay, so if you want to reset a password of a user, that particular user, once you click on the user account, you can just select reset password. So help us select reset password. Okay, so once you click on reset password, so it will give you a temporary password. So that user now, you are going to give the user this password. So the reason why this password is temporary is because ideally as an admin, you're not supposed to know the password of your users. You are supposed to just give them this temporal password. Once they use it to sign in, it will tell them to change the password immediately. As they are signing in, it will say, put in your current password, then you change the password. We could demonstrate that. Please, could you sign in with this user? Let's open a private browser. Let's just demonstrate changing password. Okay, so we can see now that it says current password. So the user is going to put the current password that the admin gave to him or her to sign in. So kindly just help us. So these are the major tasks that as an admin, you will find yourself doing in your organization. Sometimes users will call that they want to reset their password. password, but in the course of this training, we are going to see how we could automate all this. So users will be able to reset their password themselves. They don't need to be reaching out to you all the time. Should in case maybe your organization, you guys are up to 10,000. So you could focus on other productive job rather than resetting password. But at least it's ideal for this training. We know how to reset password for users. So we have reset password for that user now. Please, can you help me click on apps? Let me see if he has any license or any app attached to his account. Okay, so we could see here that this guy doesn't have any app attached to his account. So the next thing we are going to do is I'm going to use group to explain a scenario. Please, could you help us go back to Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center? Okay. Yeah, let's just go to all groups. Oh, good. Okay, so from all groups now, we have different groups already listed here, but we'll be creating a new group. We'll be creating a new group. We are going to be calling the group Sales Licensing Group. Kindly help me create a new group, a new security group. Let's call it Sales Licensing Group. Okay. We just call the group Sales Licensing Group. So the essence of this group is, let's take for instance now, we have like 10 members of sales department, and we want to license them. Instead of us to be giving license to the users individually, we could just use a good, then anybody that belongs to that group automatically gets that license. That's just the actual essence of this group. So we could just go ahead and create the group. So we could just add the user in the other private browser, add the user as a member to this group. So kindly help us add that user as a member to this group. So we'll test. So now we have created the security group called Sales Licensing Group. We are going to assign license to this group. So for license assignments, I want us to test it. So we are going to see it live. Could you just help me go to billing on Microsoft Entra ID so that we could try assigning license to that group from here? Let's see if it's good. Let's see what we are going to get.
Okay, so I think that was moved from Entra to M365. There's no longer license. I think that was late last year, right? So you can't see licensing here again.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to show so that at least we'll see it live. So we'll understand that Microsoft have moved licensing to Microsoft 365. So for you to license a user or a group, you have to go to M365 Admin Center. So please help us go to M365 Admin Center so that we could assign license to that group. Okay. So once it loads, we'll just select a group. Okay. So I want you to help me click on licenses. Licenses.
Okay, so I was just waiting for instructions from you, Oyimafu, so that I don't overshoot. So
Oh, okay. So let's go back. So for us to
I mean,
assign license to a group now, so you could just select any of the license that we can just assign to that group
okay.
that will give us
So maybe
access
we'll
to apps.
yeah. So maybe we'll just do this Teams Enterprise. I still have 2 licenses here. So I'll come to a group, right?
Yeah. Then we'll now assign license to that sales group.
Okay. So sales. Okay.
So
Assign.
we'll just assign the license.
Okay. So let's look for
So
that person signing.
yeah, so
We may have to sign out and back in maybe. So Oyimafu, I think we want to check the user and see if he's licensed now, right? So
yeah,
come to active users and then we come to Chidima. So we can see that it has license. And at this point, if we come to licenses, we see that the user has this license. So you may want to comment on the reason why I cannot uncheck the license for the user.
yeah. The reason why you cannot uncheck the license for the user is because this license was assigned to a group. So if if a license is assigned to a group and you want to actually uncheck the license, you need to remove the user from the group that you assign the license to. So that's just the reason for that. So we have confirmed now that the reason why we assign license to this group is, let's take for instance now, as the team increases, you have more people joining the team. Instead of adding license to them manually, you could just come here and add them to the security group, and automatically they get license assigned to them. So you could use groups for a lot of things. So that's part of the use case of a group in an environment. Most times, organization create groups for licensing purpose, for administration purpose, for even for distribution purpose. So we just looked at one scenario of creating a group. So could you just help us go to the browser where the user is signed in? Let's see if you have access to any app.
Okay, so while you are even trying to say that, I think one of the easiest way to, give license to users without you having to manually do that may just be an instance where you say if an account is enabled, then it should automatically pick up license from the queue, right? So that will also work also, so that the group is like a dynamic security group. Just so when the user is active, I'm just going to close that. Let's have that user sign back in, so that when you create a user, you don't need to add don't need to add license to the user. The user just automatically picks licensing off from the pool of licenses that you have. I'm going to sign in again as that user. Let me take this call.
Yeah, you can sign in again. Please, can you help me reset my password for the Nigerian M365 community?
Okay.
I'm finding it difficult to.
Let me see. Okay, I will do that. So perhaps you want to use use that for the demo also, right? So
No,
what
let's not
I
use it for the demo. So you
okay,
could
so
just
what
stop
I will-
sharing your screen.
yeah, that's what I want to do. I'll just quickly do that at this time. To
Or maybe you could just chill. I'm in already.
Oh, okay, that's cool then. So, all right. So should I share my screen again, or you can write down?
Yeah, just share your screen. Once I join on this system, I'll just take over.
Okay,
Keep
so
sharing.
trying to look for this. Okay, all right. So what do you want me to do now?
Okay. So the next
Sharing.
thing okay. So I would like to demonstrate creation of
Creation of what, please? Hello?
I would like us to do creation of okay. So
I
I can
lost your voice.
okay. Sorry, I was trying to switch devices. So I was having issue with that particular with my system actually. It was my system that was the issue. So
Okay.
I'm signed in already. I'm signed in already.
Okay,
Let me
so I
check
can
the
stop
chat.
sharing so you can continue.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
you're welcome.
it. Okay. So I can see somebody hands raised. Do you have a question? You have a question you could ask so that we could just cover that. We could cover that part. That's Omokudu. You have a question? Yeah, I think he doesn't have a question here. So right now we are going to look at how to now we have learned how to use group for license assignment. So the can you guys see my screen? Maybe with a reaction, so I will know that you guys can see my screen. Okay, thank you. So I can see Patrick. Patrick, you are actually your hands is raised. Do you want to say anything or you want to ask a question? You could go ahead. Go ahead and ask your question. Okay, it's not talking. Let me see if I can unmute his mic. Okay, I've allowed your mic. You could ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I want to thank you for the presentation. It's been awesome. Yeah, my name is Patrick, and I've been following you since you started, and it's been very wonderful. So please, there's something I didn't understand considering this group licensing. Is it like if somebody,
Oh,
a user, maybe an admin, buys, let's say, 5 seats of a particular license, and he wishes to assign um, a group, the license. Let's say we have 4 people in this group. Is it that they are going to share one seat in these 5 seats, or just one seat will be given to these 4 people in the particular group?
okay. That's a very brilliant question. Actually, the license, if the license is 5, because there was a customer I had that, let me just give the scenario. So they bought one license for Power BI, and Power BI license is very expensive. Then
Yeah.
he now assigned the license to a group and added like 20 people to that group and expecting all of them to inherit that license. So it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If you are assigning license to a group and you have 5, automatically, if you have 5 people in that group, they inherit the license. So I don't know, Joseph, if you want to add anything to that. But
Okay. Somebody would have thought that since it's a group, it's going to just be one license we accord to it, and that's all. So I just wanted to
yeah,
be
so
clear on.
once you assign the license, okay, let me explain it. Let me explain again. So I'm going to go over creating the group. In Entra ID, we have under identity, we have overview, we have users, we have groups. If you click on, if I collapse group now, I'm going to see the overviews of groups because each of the settings always have an overview. So if I click on all groups, I'm going to see all the groups I have here. So I have different groups in this particular environment. If I click on new group now, let me see how, if I click on new group, the group we created was a security group. So the essence of this group is for license assignment. Let me say sales department, sales department licensing. And the description of this group is going to be for sales licensing. And now there is an option here. Do you want to assign Microsoft Entra roles to this group, which we are going to look at? But I just want us to go through it one step at a time. So the membership type of this group is going to be assigned. When we say assign membership, what it means is that you are going to be the one to add the user to the group by yourself. That's assigned membership. For dynamic, you are going to specify some queries that if the user meets those queries, then the user is going to join the group automatically, which we are going to look at dynamic user group. But let's just go with assigned membership first. So for owner, you could assign an owner to a group. So it's best in creating a group, you provide an owner, because the owner automatically is the one that manages the group. So let me pick myself here as the owner, since I'm the one creating the group. Then I will just come to members. If you followed us yesterday, we created some users through the bulk user creation. We created Abigail. I will just select all the users we created yesterday. So we'll just use this to license them. So let me look for the other person we created. Let's go down. I think some of them are below. So we could just select, okay, we created Fumilayo yesterday. Okay, let me say I selected these two people here for license assignment. I have two members now in this group. I'll just click on create. So this is one use case of a license. Now that of a group, now that I've created this group, we'll go back to Microsoft 365 Admin Center to assign license to the group. Formally, you can assign license to a user or a group from Microsoft Entra, but for some reasons, Microsoft moved it to M365 Admin Center. So we are going to go to M365 Admin Center so we could assign license to that particular group. So here now, I'll just collapse billing. Anything that has to do with money, license is money. So because of that, we have to come to billing. We'll come down to licenses. Under billing, you have purchase service, your product, licenses, bills and payments, billing account, and billing notifications. But here now, we want to just go to licenses so that we'll assign license to that group. So let's see. Now I have just 4 licenses here, and I have 9 available licenses for Microsoft 365 developer. Like your question now, maybe what I'll do is I will add like 10 people to that group. Let me see how many of them, because that will answer our question. So let me add more. Let me add more users to that group. But or better still, you can't give, because I have 9 available licenses here. If I add 10 people to that group, one person will not have a license. That's just the truth.
Yes. Okay.
One person will not have a license. So let me just click on this 9 user here. Then assign license. Under the license page, we have users, we have group, meaning that you could assign license to a user directly from here, or you could assign license to a group. These are not the total numbers of users I have in my environment. So you could assign license to a user, or you could assign license to a group. So let me click on group. Since we want to do automation, we don't want to be doing manual process whereby if a user comes in, you have to be manually adding license to the user. So let me just click on assign license. Then I'll now search for the group name. So the group is sales group, sales department licensing. Then I'll now click on here now. These are the features of the license I want to add. So it is important that as you are assigning license, you check the features that comes with the license to ensure that everything is checked. I was in a scenario with a customer whereby Exchange Online Plan 2 was unchecked. meaning that this user will not have access to Outlook. The user now reported that he cannot do some particular things on Outlook. We check. We discovered that license was assigned to the user. It was until we came down to apps, we now discovered that Exchange Online Plan 2 is unchecked. So it's important as an admin, as you're assigning license to a user or to a group, check all the apps. All these are apps. If I uncheck Exchange Online Plan 2 now, it means that this user will not be able to use Outlook. If I uncheck SharePoint now, that means the user will not have access to SharePoint features. So there are several options here. There are some departments that will say, okay, I don't want my users to use Yammer. I don't want them to use OneDrive. I don't want them to use SharePoint. So you could just uncheck any of the apps that you don't want the user to use. But for this scenario, we want them to use all the apps. So I'll just click on assign. And now your assignment to sales department might take a moment for the process to complete. So let's say maximum of 2 or 3 minutes, it should be done. So that is how to assign license to a group. So my own is that, okay, if somebody joins sales department now, I want to make life easy for myself. I'll just add them to that group and automatically the person gets license. If I come back to all users now, which is where all the users in my environment base, I will search for I will search for that particular user, the users that were in that group. So Abigail is part of the members of that group. These are all the settings you could see. You could see audit logs, sign-in logs, and all. So if I click on audit logs now, we may not get any data because this person was just created. These are the information, group management. We could see that we added this person to a group. So if I maximize this page now, we are going to see everything as it is. So it's just giving you an audit log of what is happening, user management, change control. As things is happening, you are seeing them here. If you modify anything now on this account, you are going to see it and you are going to see the person that did it. Let's take, for instance, now, somebody went and edited somebody's account in the organization and they want to know. From audit log here, they will know. From here, you can't delete it. There's no way you can delete anything here, meaning that if you do anything in this tenant regarding anybody's account, you will be caught. You will be caught. So that's for audit. If we come to sign in logs now, let's see if we'll get any log. So here now, no log found because this user have not signed in. Let's take, for instance, now your manager come and say you should investigate a user account. Maybe the user reported that somebody just he received OTP notification and the person was not trying to sign in. What it means is that somebody else is trying to sign into that user account. You could just come to sign in logs and check. You are going to see a lot of things here that will let you know that the person signing in is not the legitimate owner of that account. From the location, you may see that the person is in India. So that's one of the use case of sign-in logs. Let's come to licenses. Let's see if this user has a license. So here now we could see that this user has a license and the license was inherited from CS department group. If this license was assigned directly to this user, we will just see the name of the license here. But because it was inherited from a group, we'll see it here inherited so that even if someone else come and check, the person will see that the license was inherited from a group. So that's one use case of groups. So another use case of groups is, let's take Faraventure now. In Nigeria M365 community, our test environment, if we say we want to assign admin roles to everybody in the tenant, you guys are much. You guys are close to 900 or so in that particular environment. If we say we should go to, maybe I go to my users here and I click on Albert Benson, I come to assign roles and I click on add assignments and I assign a role to this guy. This is actually good, but it's going to take my time. So another use case of group is you could use groups to assign roles to users. Let me just close this page so we could demonstrate how we could use a group to assign role to a user. So here now, we'll still go back to groups. Under groups, we'll select all groups. Then we click on new group. Under the group type, we have just two groups. If you want to create a group in Microsoft Entra ID, you can only create a security group or a Microsoft 365 group. Security group is the one you can use for permission. You could use this for automation, like assigning license to users, and for roles also, to assign roles to user. So let's take note of this, because sometimes you may be asked, like, if you want to create a group in Entra ID, how many groups can you create? This is very important. You can only create two groups in Entra ID. In Exchange Online Admin Center, you can create more. In M365 Admin Center, you can create more. But in Entra ID, you can only create two groups, just security group and M365 group. Please, let's take note. Under the group name now, I want to say M365 Community Licensing Group. So that will be the name of the group. Then here now, for me to be able to assign license to this group, I need to say yes to this guy. If I don't say yes to this guy, I won't be able to assign license to this group. If I say no, we will see that rows will disappear. But if I say yes, rows will appear. So most of all these settings causes a trigger. If I say no now, there won't be any rows here. If I say yes, there will be rows. Why? Because I want to use this group to assign role to users. So let me just say M365, instead of license, let's say M365 community role assignment group. So that will be the name of this group that I want to create. So here now, I'll just come down, and the membership type, you can't change it. So these are the things we need to take note of. The membership type has to be assigned if you want to assign a role to the group. If I say no now, I can change it to either dynamic user or dynamic device. So all these things are things that if somebody asks you, you can be bold enough to tell the person because you have seen it live. If you say yes, it has to be membership. You can't, it has to be as the assigned type, the membership type has to be assigned. So for owner now, I'm going to make myself an owner since I'm the one creating this group. Let me just go down and search for myself and make myself the owner of the group and select. Then for members now, I will add those that I want to be admins in the environment. I can just come here and select. Let me select. Let me search for Paul. And let me select another person again. Let me select Adeleke. Then I click select. So once you are selecting users, it shows the users you have selected. So if I select Abigail now, she will show here. If I select Albert will show yes. All these guys now are now members of this group. So if you are selecting members, on the right here, you can see the members you are selecting. So I'll just click on select. Then it automatically shows me here that I've selected 4 members. Now for the roles I want to assign to them, I'll just come here and click on roles selected. Then I'll see different roles that I can assign to these people. Let's say M365 community role assignments. I just want people in this group not to be able to do much. I just want them to see all the admin centers since they're actually going into M365. I want them to see what's happening in all the admin center. I'll just come down and select a reader role for least privilege. Because if I give you a role that enables you to perform action, there may be an issue because maybe if something happened in the environment, I'll be held responsible. So I'll just select global reader. Like yesterday, I was looking at all the roles. So what a role does now is more or less like you employ me. You employ me as a manager. So as a manager, I have my responsibility. My responsibility could be to be taking care of my team members, to oversee projects, to oversee tasks. If you employ another person as a team lead and manager, they are different roles completely. What a manager can approve and a team lead itself cannot deny. So if a manager approves anything, the team lead has to just go with it. So there are two different roles completely. So same with roles in Entra ID. We have global administrator. A global administrator here now is more or less like the manager, the person in charge of the department and the person in charge of everything, which can manage all aspects of Microsoft Entra ID and Microsoft services that uses Entra identity. So a global admin is a very big role that before you give that role to anybody, you need to make sure the person is really good and the person really understands what he or she wants to do. So here now, I'll just assign global reader to these guys because that's just what I want them to have access to. I've given them global reader role, then I'll just click on create. So we just wait for the group to create. So we have created the group successfully. Remember, the first group we created was for license assignments. Then the second group we created is for roles. So those are use cases of groups. You could use a group to assign license to users, and you could use group to give users rules to perform tasks in the environment. So let me go back and look for that group we created. M365. Let me just search for it. Or let me refresh. Okay, we have it here. M365 Community Role Group. If I click on it now, we'll see some settings. So let's take for instance now, they now employ a new staff. Once you open the group, if you click on members, you can also add new members. If you want to add members, you click on add members at the top. Let's say for instance, the members you want to add are more. Maybe you want to add like 70 or 100 people. You could do bulk operation. Just like yesterday, we used bulk operation to add users. If you click on import members now, it's going to give you a template you will download. Once you download that template, it will tell you the details it needs. If it's only the user principal name, you put the user principal name of, even if it's 100 users, and it's going to automatically add those users to this group to prevent you from adding them to the group manually. So if I close this guy now, I have 4 users in this particular group. If I want to confirm if the role has been assigned to these users, all I need to do is to just click on each of them individually. Now I have the settings of 4. Assign role, I can see one assign role here. If I click on assign roles now, from here, it's going to show me that this guy is a member of, is a global reader in this environment. So let's just wait for it to load. So I can see here that Paul is a global reader. I want us to check something. So the membership type is group. So most times it will show you how the permission travels. So the membership type here is what is group. So that's another use case of a group. You could use groups to assign permission to users. You could use it for assignments. That's for security group. Okay. So we'll go back and still look at dynamic group. Let's see the use case of dynamic group. Let me come back to groups. Still on security group. So now the next group I want us to create is, I want to use this scenario whereby your manager just comes to the office and say, okay, I want you to create a group that contains only the guests in the organization, just the guests. And what she wants is, she don't want a situation where you will be adding guests manually to the group, because we are humans, we make mistakes. You may want to add a guest now, and maybe part of your KPI is guests should be added to a particular group, and maybe a new guest just joined the tenant. You may forget to add that guest to the group, and if your manager now found out that this person have not added this person to this group, it might affect you, because it will be as if maybe you're not competent or you forget things easily. But with dynamic group, you could make that easier for yourself. So now what we will do is we are going to create a dynamic group that will automatically add only group members to only those that are actually guests to the group. So let me just give this group, let me say guest users. So I'll just call the group guest users group. So let me capitalize this. For the group description now, I will say this group is for guests. So it is good if you are creating anything, you always put a description, because if you don't put a description, the next person that is actually working with you might need to be asking you all the time, what is this group for? But if the description is here, once the person sees it, you already know that this group is for guests. You don't need to be asking you question. Since the group is for guests, there is no need for us to assign Microsoft Entra role to the group. You can just leave it that way. Then here now, the membership type. If we select assign, what it means is that we have to go to the tenant and be adding all the members of the group, all the guests in their environment, which could be cumbersome and time consuming. So I'll just go to dynamic user. Then for dynamic user now, I can only select an owner, but I can't select members. The only way I can add members is to use a dynamic query, which we are going to add. So for the owner, still on still, I'll still select myself and make myself the owner. So let me just select myself here, then click on select, then come down and add the dynamic query. So the dynamic query we are going to use, we are going to be adding it ourselves. So let me click on edit. So we are going to add the query. So the query is going to be user dot object ID. Then we'll give a space. So for you to get more queries, once you go online, you're going to see different queries that you could test in your environment. So I'll just say user dot user type equals. So we could even define the query from the query builder, but I just want us to use this method. Let's see if it's going to work. The so if so what this query does is that it's going to search our tenant and add only guest users to this particular group. So I can see an error here. So, so I'll just click on OK. So if you want to know more about dynamic group, once you search for queries, you are going to get a lot of queries. So here now, let me validate it. Let me see if it's going to work. So let me see. Here now we have no user added yet for validation, meaning that there's an issue because I have guests in my environment. So I'll just do something. Let me drop the query on the chat. Let me see if it will drop. Okay. Okay. Let me come back to configuration. Let me clear this. So we could just do it from the query builder itself. Let me say okay. So for us to use the query builder, we could just come here, click on add expression. From the expression, we could use an and command or command. So we could just instead of us to use this, we could just say, come here. Since why is even giving me an and is because I'm actually using two options. So I don't want to use an and command. So what I'll just do is I'll delete this one here. Then I'll just come here, choose property. The property I'm going to use is objects. The object type is going to be object ID is going to equal, then the value I'm going to put here is going to be guest. So this is more or less like I'm trying to use, so user.object_id equals guest. So the same thing I was trying to write is what I'm trying to do with the query expression. So let me see if I'm going to get people in that group. Let me validate. Say that, okay, let me add one or two guests. Let me see if it's going to validate them. Fortunately, I'm not, okay. Let me validate this. Let me see if it's going to work. Okay. So what I will do is I'll go ahead to save the query. Then I'll create. So if I don't see any member in that group, we'll come back and edit the query to actually add members to that group. So let me just go to the group. Let me refresh. So the essence of dynamic group is more or less like to just dynamically add users to a group using a query. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to create a query that we add guests automatically to the environment. So that was what that's the essence. So let me just go back and search for that group. Let me see if we are going to what did I call the group again? Okay. So let me select, let me see if there will be any member there. So let's see. Okay, we don't have any member. So that means I need to work on my query. So let's just come back. We could always edit it to fit into what we need. Okay, let me edit this query. So that's basically the essence of dynamic group actually, just to automatically add users to a group. So if I want to use another, let's say I don't want to use guest. Let me say I want to use, let's say, department. I could just say objects. I could just say instead of object, I could just come here and say department. So you could select several options. So you could use user type. So since we used objects and we were not getting any user there, so let's use user type. Let's see if user type is going to help us. So let me save it. So sometimes all these things is good so that at least we'll like get to see things practically and debug issues. So let me close this page. Let me refresh. Let me see if we'll have any user in that group. So let me check the query if it's saved. Okay, user type. So let me come back to members. Let me see if we have any members there. Okay, we have one person. So now we see that one person has been added to this group. This person is actually a guest. The email address is testismusan@gmail.com. So this is not a member of my organization. From the email self, you know it's not a member of my organization. So this guy is a guest. So if I refresh now, let's see if more guests will be added. That means this is the only guest I have in my organization. So let's take Paraventure now. It's a production environment where you have a lot of guests. You are going to see more of them. Like you see a lot of them in your organization. So from here now we could see this guy is an external user. He's not a member of my organization. User type is a guest. So what it did was it went to check my directory. Anybody that is a guest is automatically added the person to this group. So that's for dynamic group. You could use it to do automation instead of you to be stressing yourself adding them manually. You could just use dynamic membership to add members to a group. Yeah, so if you have any question, you could drop your question before we proceed to the next part of the day, the next part that we have, because I'm trying to deal with groups and users. So we'll just complete users and groups, then we'll now go to user management. So does anybody have any question before we proceed? Okay, I can see this hand, Isaac. Okay, let me unmute your mic. Okay, I've unmuted your mic, Isaac. You can ask your question.
Okay, good evening, Emmanuel.
Yeah,
Okay.
good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, my question is because I'm from the Azure background before joining M365. So my question is, if you have a tenant in Azure, does that tenant automatically created for you in M365?
Okay, this is it. If you have Azure subscription is pay as you go. That one is more or less like you are paying for what you use. Then
Yes.
Entra now is a service in Microsoft Azure. So if you want to create a tenant from Microsoft Azure, sure, you can create a tenant that will be linked to your Azure environment. But for your users to be able to use any of the Microsoft 365 apps, you need to assign a license to them before they'll be able to use your Microsoft 365 apps. I don't know if I answered your question or you want me to throw more light on it.
Yeah, more light on it, because when you come to when you come to M365, like for example, you have a global admin in Azure, all right? Coming to M365, you might not have that global admin role to perform the task.
Okay, so in Azure, we have two roles basically. We have like two roles. We have owner, we have contributor. So if you are the owner of the subscription, it means that you were the one that paid for the subscription from Microsoft.
Yes,
So you could
yes,
add more contributors as you can. But we know that in M365, roles in M365, we have a lot of roles. We have global admin, we have exchange admin, different roles. In Microsoft now, if you are a global admin now in Microsoft, the, you can't just come to Azure and be managing resources in Azure. Before you'll be able to manage resources in Azure, there needs to be a permission because Microsoft Azure has its own rules, role-based
yes,
access control. You
yes,
need to be
RBAC.
given RBAC rule to be able to manage any service, whether virtual machine, you want to manage app service, you need to be given RBAC rule. But
Yes,
because Microsoft Entra ID is a services under Microsoft Azure, they are tightly integrated. There is a very good relationship between Entra ID and Microsoft Azure. So that's
mm-hmm.
why in Microsoft Entra, from your users in Microsoft Entra ID, you can assign them to RBAC roles in Azure so that those users will be able to manage your resources in Azure if they are
Yeah.
in the same environment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. Okay, so let me come back to what we have for today. Okay, we are done with users. And we saw how to create users in Microsoft Entra Admin Center. We saw how to restore a deleted user. And we also saw how to create groups, assign group and dynamic group. So one of the difference between assign group and dynamic group is that for assign group, you add the members yourself. While for dynamic group, you don't need to add the members yourself. You just define a query that automatically add those users to that group. So that's, and also if you delete a group now, you could also restore the group back. So let me just delete the group we created today. Let me delete this guest user group. Let's restore it back so we could see how to restore a deleted group. So let me come back to deleted group here. From deleted group here, we're not seeing anything. Let me refresh. Okay. let me go back and check if that group really deleted us. Okay. Okay, they say recent changes may take some time to appear. So let's refresh this page, then we'll go back to deleted group and refresh. Okay. So the group is not coming here. So, but normally,
yeah, you can
once you
refresh
delete
the
a
whole
group,
page.
okay, let me refresh your page. Let's see. Ah, the group is supposed to come here, but normally once you delete a group, it automatically goes to deleted group. So let me delete another group. Let's see. Let's see something in action today. So let me delete this M365 group. Let's see. So should in case we are taking actions in production environment, we'll be careful with what we do. So what did we observe here? Can anybody tell me what we observed here? I intentionally did it so that we'll understand something about restoring groups. Can anybody tell me what he or she understand? If you just know what happened or what transpired here right now, you could raise your hand so I will unmute your mic so you could talk. Okay. So what happened was now I deleted I deleted an M365 group. I I came back to deleted groups. I saw it here, meaning that this question comes out in exam also. You can only restore an M365 group if you delete it. So this 30 days original deletion period doesn't apply to security group. It only applies to M365 group, which we practicalized. I don't have any other test group again that I can delete, but I just deleted this group. It's a security group. If I click on show more events now, we'll see, but I'm not seeing other event, but I deleted a group. I deleted a group. So I want us to see that. So normally you can't restore a security group. So let's just take note of that. So if you are working in an environment and let's say you want to do some things, you be very careful before you do them. So you can only restore an M365 group. Let's not forget. So let me come back here and click on restore group. So that's for groups and how to create groups, both dynamic groups and both dynamic group and assign group. And we saw how we could use group to how we could assign license to a group and how we can assign role to a group. So let's go to the next part of the training. So we'll go back to users. So from users now, I want us to see how external collaboration work in Microsoft Entra ID. External collaboration is, let's take for instance, you have visitors or partners working with your organization and you want to give them access to communicate or talk to people in your environment. You could say you don't want people in your organization to talk to anybody. You could do that settings from Microsoft Entra ID. So I'll just show us how we could do that. To do that, under users, you click on user settings. So from user settings now, we could see default user roles. So we could see some things that users can do. One, users can register application. The option I selected here is yes. If I say no, what it means is that users in my organization will not be able to register application. Then the next one is restrict non-admin users from creating tenants. This is this is no. Because if I say yes, it means that everybody in my organization will be able to create M365 tenants in my organization, which is not best practice. So here now, users can create security group. If I say yes, what it means is that a user in my environment will be able to create security group. But in some cases, it's not. All these are user settings. These settings now, any settings you specify here affect users in your organization. So let's come down to the talk of the day. Here now we are talking about guest user access. Under guest user access restrictions, we have three options. The first option is guest users have the same access as members. Guest users have limited access to properties and membership of directory objects. Guest users Guest user access is restricted to properties and membership of their own directory object. All these options now, if I say guest user have same access, it means that guest users will have the same access as members in my organization, depending on you, not even depending on the organization policy. There are some organizations that are fine with having guests having same access as members, but it's not best practice. In my own case, the option is guest users have limited access to properties and membership of directory objects. So I'm giving the guest users in my organization limited access. I'm not giving them same access as members of my organization. So this is where you do guest users restrictions. If we come down now, we are going to see administration. So now what we have here is restrict access to Microsoft 365 Entra Admin Center. If I say yes now, that means I'm restricting access to Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Yesterday, I was able to sign in with Packer to Microsoft Entra Admin Center because this is set to no. But if I say yes now, meaning that nobody will be able to sign into Microsoft 365 admin to Microsoft Entra Admin Center if you are not an admin. But I'll just leave the settings that way, but that's what this is meant for. LinkedIn account. Allow users to connect their work or school account with LinkedIn. If I say no, users will not be able to connect their work or school account with LinkedIn. Basically, what we have here is user settings. Any settings you specify here affect users and guests. So here now, the next one is show keep user signed in. So if I say yes, it means that it will always keep users signed in. So now the talk of the day is manage external collaboration settings. So let me just see. Yeah. So for external collaboration settings, I think I need to reshare my screen. Can you still see my screen? If you could
Yes.
see my screen. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. So for external collaboration now, if I click on it, we'll see more settings under external collaboration. Let's not forget, if you want to manage user settings, you come to users here. Under users, you select user settings. That's where you see where you will manage guest user access and also external collaboration. So I didn't touch anything here. That's why the option to save is not clickable. So if I click on manage external collaboration settings now, we'll see other settings that we could assign. So now we have guest user access. So this is more or less like the one we saw in the previous page where we have guest user access restriction. So now the option is still here. Guest user have same access as members? No. I don't want guest users to have same access as members. I only want guest users to have limited access to properties and membership of directory objects. So they should only be restricted to just properties and membership of directory objects that I assign to them. I don't want them to have same access as members of my organization. We have to be intentional about all what we select here because it's very important. If you make any mistake to select anything like guest user have same access, what it means is that any guest users can do the same thing that members can do, which is not supposed to be like that. A guest is a guest. A guest cannot come to your house and have access to everywhere in your house, can even enter your living room, enter your master bedroom, or the rest. It's not best practice because the person can just go there and take anything or maybe cause an havoc in the environment. So that's why it's not good for you to give guests access, same access as members. So let's take note of this. The next option is guest invite settings. Now, guest invite settings. The first option is anyone in the organization can invite guest users, including guests and non-admins. What this means is that anyone in my organization, including somebody that is not an admin, can invite guest users. Let's say, for instance, I'm working in a marketing company where I do campaign to get customers, this is okay. Because sometimes users in your organization may want to communicate with some guests. So you could do that so that at least maybe they could communicate in your environment. But normally in some in some enterprise environment, it is not good for you to allow anyone in your organization to be able to invite guest users, including guest and admin. The next option is member users and users assigned to specific admin roles can invite guest users, including guests with membership permission. So this one now is member users, meaning that even members can also can also invite, but this anyone now means even guests, because anyone, you are saying anybody, any person can invite guests or users to the organization. But the best is you select only users assigned to specific admin roles can invite guests. This is the best. Then if you now say no one in the organization can invite guests, it means that you don't want external collaboration at all. Maybe in your organization you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want anybody to communicate. So somebody just asked the question, how do you create a guest user? We are going to do that. We are going to do that once we are done explaining this part. So here now, the next one is enable guest user self-service sign up via user flow. So this is more or less like if you're inviting a guest user now, so there's an automation that the guest user will get that will enable the user to create, to sign in and create password by him or herself. So that's what we are saying here by guest self-service sign up via user flow. That means the person will be able to sign up by himself, just like if you want to create a LinkedIn account now. If you want to sign up, you don't need any admin of LinkedIn to help you. Once you just click on sign up, it asks you for your Gmail. Once you put your Gmail, you put your name and everything, and you get into LinkedIn. So the same thing. If you have been invited as a guest to the organization, you can do your self-service sign up yourself, following the user flow. So this option is no. I'll make it yes because we are going to invite a user. So now external user leave settings. Allow external user to remove themselves from the organization. It's better you leave it as yes, because if you stop them from removing themselves, that means you are the one that want to always remove them. But at least it's okay you say yes to allow external users to remove themselves from the organization. So if we come down now, we have collaboration restrictions. So here now we have cross tenant access settings. So now we are looking at the first option, which is allow invitation to be sent to any domain. So what it means is that invitation can be sent to any domain. If you say deny invitation to specific domain, that means they are going to put the domain here. There are some organizations that they don't want to talk to some particular organization. Maybe they are competitors. They don't want users in their environment to talk to people in that environment. So they can just put the domain here. Like, okay, I don't want users in precise market to talk to Jumia. You can just say jumia.com. Maybe because this marketing company is doing the same thing with this other marketing company. So I don't want those people to communicate with people in my staff. You can say, okay, deny invitation to specific domain. You specify those domains. So basically, this is where you manage external collaboration in Microsoft Entra ID from this particular page. That's where you manage external collaboration. So you can't leave it empty. If I say allow invitations only to specific domain, meaning that the domain I specify here is only the domain that my people in my organization can invite. Which let me save the settings I have for this guy before we continue. So I don't want it to be like this. Let me say, are you sure you want to change the policy? Let me go back to this guy. Let me save it. So all these are external collaboration settings, basically. So here, this is where you define those settings. If you want users in your organization to communicate with people outside the organization, you could do that. So this one, I left it the way it is. I only change this to allow only user assigned to specific admin roles to invite guest users. Then I enable guest user service flow. Then external user can leave. Yes, I want them to leave. So for collaboration restrictions now, I don't want to, I want my users to be able to talk to any domain, like whether Microsoft.com, whether AWS, whether Google, any domain whatsoever. I want them to be able to talk to them. So allow invitation to be sent to any domain. That's for this option. But if you don't want them to talk to, if you want people in your organization to talk to specific domains, why not? You can just define the examples here. Like, okay, I want them to talk to these guys. I want them to talk to these guys. I don't want them to talk to this other guy. There are some organizations that are like that because they know that if you leave ground open for your employees, they are going to like do and undo. So that's why sometimes they will tell their admins they want to be strict. Even if we will talk to any domain, it should just be this specific domain. Some people will even say they should deny, like they shouldn't talk to anybody. So depending on the organization that you are working and their security standard. So that's for external collaboration. So now somebody asked a question on the chat. He said, how do we create a guest user? And another person asked, what if you have more than one domain? If you have more than one domain in your organization, so Omokudu, can you throw more light on that question? What if you have more than one domain? Okay. So I've allowed your mic.
Okay, thank you so much, Emmanuel. The class has been so fantastic. Yeah. My question was, what if we have more than one domain restricted? Like you were saying something about domain restriction. So if we want to, let's say we have Jumia and we also have Congo, are we going to put like a comma to, I don't know, am I audible, please?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay.
So
Okay, so
if you want to do, okay, let's do it here. So let's say jumia.com. So if you want to do it like there's an example here we can follow. Value must be like this or like this. So let's say you want to add more domains now. Let's put Konga. So you could just give space and add them. So, but let's see. Because this one now is telling us that, okay, if we want to add one domain now. So you could add more than one. You could add more than one domain because maybe peradventure you have like two competitors that you don't want your users to communicate with. You can add more than one. Let me try, let me try something. So you can add more than one basically. You can. So if you want to add, I guess once you add Jumia now and you want to add Konga, we just say Konga. So the way this one works, you could just be adding them. Like you don't need to use comma or any sign. You could just click on it. Then it gives you another option again. Let's say I want to add, let's say, let's say Boku. So you could just be adding them like, so formally you could use comma, but you know, technology change every day. So you could just do them like this. So I don't know if I answered your question. So to add domains. Okay, thank you. So someone asked,
thank you
so
so
I want,
much.
okay, I want to go with these options. Allow invitation to be sent to any domain. So it's fine. So I'm okay with that in my own domain. So let me just save it. So now the last thing we are going to do is to invite guest user to our organization. I'm going to test with someone, and I want the person to actually follow the flow. So I want a volunteer to drop his email address. So I'm going to invite the person to my organization. So any volunteer. So basically, if you want to create a guest user, you follow the same method in creating the same method you use in creating a user. Wow. I have a lot of mails here. So what I'll do is I'm going to use all of them. I'm going to invite all of you. So I will start with the first email on the chat, which is Kumen88. So let me start with Kumen. I will invite everybody. So now I'm inviting you. I click on, let me go over it again. So from all users, you have an option to create a new user. And we have create a new user, which is this user is internal in your organization. And we have invite external user. So if I want to create a guest user, that means I'm using invite an external user. So I'll just come here. I'll put the person email. So they are telling me that value is not a valid email address. Wow, how would they say it's not a valid email address? Okay, maybe let me type it. Let me see. Okay, it accepted it now. Probably maybe I need to type it. Now I'm going to put the display name. This person now I'm going to say the display name is going to be Kumen. Then here now I'm going to say invitation message. If I click on, if I uncheck this, that means the person is not going to be sent an invitation message. But if I check it, the invitation message will be there. I can now say the message will be kindly accept my invite. So that's my invitation message. So the invite redirection, this is the invite redirection URL that will point you to my tenant. So if let me copy myself, let me say, so what I'll do is I'll copy Joseph, I'll copy Aderoju. Let me copy the second email on the chat. So I'll just copy this guy. So what I'll do is I'll create for one user, I'll copy the other person. And also you could define the other properties for the user. So here now, I can just say the first name is Kumen. Then the last name is, let's say, K. And all other settings too. You could set other settings. It's more or less like you are creating a user, but the difference is this person is a guest, is not a member. The user type is guest. So let me review and invite. So Kumen, you are going to get an invite. Please kindly accept our invite so that we are going to see it in action. Then I'm going to be creating another one, another user. I'm going to be creating another user. So let me invite another person. This time I'm inviting Oluwabemiga. So let me do that. Okay. Display name Oluwabemiga. Then I want invitation message to be sent to Oluwabemiga too. So I'll just say kindly accept my invite. So this is how we invite external people. Maybe you have an external person and you want to invite the person. You can use this method to invite the person to join your environment. So I'll just click on next, display name. Display name will be Oluwa Benga. Let me correct it. Okay, this will be the display name of the user. Then I'll just click on review and create. So please, let's hear feedback. Have you gotten any invite? Have anybody gotten any invite? If you have gotten any invite, please.
Yes, Kufre has gotten, Joseph has gotten, and they've dropped their confirmation in the chat.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
So we'll just wait for
Okay, let's
Benga to confirm
okay, let's
his.
just okay, this is even for a new user. So let me come back. I don't want to save it. Okay. So I wanted to create the last user. So we could see how to create external users in our environment. We could invite them. So once any of them accept it now, I'll see them as guests in my organization. Just like I have a lot of members, I only have just one guest in my environment. That was why when I did that dynamic group, I only saw just this guy. Where is that guy, Seth? I only saw him. So that's where we are going to draw the curtain for today. Thank you for dropping. It's like Benga. Okay, Benga, you received yours. Let me see. Okay. It's like you receive it, Benga? Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Yes, he
thank you.
did.
Okay, thank you. So thank you
Yeah.
everyone for joining today. I really appreciate your time. Sorry for the network issue I had. And thank you, Joseph, for coming through
Always a
for me.
reliable backup. Our
Yeah.
reliable backup.
Yeah,
And bye.
it was there for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Emmanuel Oyimafu. Really appreciate the time you've taken. Like the way you've explained this class, you've done complete justice to today's class, to yesterday's class. We appreciate your time. We should be the one thanking you for your time. And yeah, it's been really, really overly, I would say, informative. So I don't think we have any other question. Okay, Joseph is raising his hand. That is Aderoju. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Uh,
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel,
Yeah.
thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate it. It was an awesome one. I want to ask, like, for this kind of invites now, does it mean that the moment you invite a guest user, does it mean that automatically the guest user have access to whatever the insiders have access to? The applications
Yeah.
and the teams and the rest of it, as in communication and sending of mails and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Does it
So
automatically?
yeah, from user settings, that's where you define that. That's where you define the access that you want guest users to have. So let me go back to user settings so that
Okay.
I will just show us again. So this is, I don't know, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes, because
Okay. So here now, I'll go back to user settings. Then let's see. Here now, the option here is guest user have limited access to properties and membership of directory object. So for my own environment, they have limited access. They don't have same access. So most times the way guest work is in organization is like this. Let's say I'm a partner, my company is a partner company, and I build apps like power apps, I do solutions, and these guys, I want them to come and see the applications that I'm building or the application I work. I can just bring them to my tenants and show them and give them access so that they can view those applications in my environment. So I'm giving them limited access to only what I want them to view. And secondly, let's say you have your own organization and you want the you want a partner company to come and help you build applications in your environment. You could just invite them. Once you invite them, you give them access. You give them permissions like roles. You assign roles to them. Okay, this person, since they are doing a SharePoint project, I'm going to give them SharePoint administrator so that they will be able to access SharePoint admin center and create a intranet site for the organization. You could do that. So that's how guest membership work. But with limited access, the person only have access to what you permit the person to have. Like that guest user now, if it's only SharePoint, I just want you to come and do your SharePoint and go. After you do your SharePoint, you have no business with my organization. So that is how it works for B2B, business to business collaboration and external collaboration. So I don't know if you want me to throw more light on it.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so I think the next question is from Omo Kidu. Sorry. Itoje, can you ask your question? Unmute yourself. Okay, I
Okay,
think
thank you. Okay, I'm here. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Emmanuel, and also to the organizers of this training. They're doing a very good job. So, I have a couple of questions, but because of time, I'll just ask just one. Although I've dropped it in the chat already. So I wanted to understand the relationship between 365 and cloud. I know cloud offer some services like platform as a service and the likes. So could you please help me understand the relationship between them? Yes, so
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So to start with, I just want you to know that Microsoft 365 is software as a service. So for platform as a service now, like the name implies, platform as a service. So what platform as a service means is that because in the whole cloud models, we have infrastructure as a service, we have platform as a service, and we have software as a service. So let me explain it in this scenario. Let's say in your organization, you have servers in your environment where you host your applications. Those servers are your own infrastructure. Then let's say now you have a cloud subscription and you want to make use of Microsoft infrastructure. That means you don't want to use your own servers again. You want to use Microsoft infrastructure. That's infrastructure as a service. Then let's say in in your own infrastructure, you had an Exchange server in your own infrastructure where you used to manage mails in your environment. Automatically, you are managing your Exchange server on on your local infrastructure. Now, you don't want to use your local infrastructure. You now bought a Azure subscription. Then you created a virtual machine that is just like the specification of the servers you have to host your Exchange server, meaning that you are using infrastructure as a service. Let's say now you don't want to use Exchange server again. You want to use Exchange Online. You don't want your administrators to be managing your Exchange server. You want them to be using Exchange Online. What it means is that you are now using Microsoft application, whereby you are not the one doing anything. All you just need to do is to assign license to users and they have access to Exchange Online. So all of them, they are all cloud. M365 is software as a service. Microsoft is giving you this software. Instead of you to use your own softwares that let's say, instead of you to use Exchange server, you use Exchange Online. Exchange server is more or less like an application, a software that you install locally in your on-premise environment so that you can use it to users can send and receive mails in your environment. So that's your organization infrastructure as a service. But the way it is, all of them are more or less like still cloud. But M365 can be classified as software as a service in Microsoft. So I don't know if I answered your question or you want me to throw more light on it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
okay, I think the last question, sincerely, I don't understand your question, Adumekwe Oluchi. I don't know if you're here, you might want to ask that and explain yourself. So I think that will be the last question for today. You can unmute yourself and explain your question. For the attendance, we've dropped the link. I'll drop the link again. Emmanuel, thank you so much. Let me just confirm once more with the last question. The person that asked the question, if he or she is here, please ask your question and that'll be all for today. Otherwise, okay. So that's the link to the attendance. What's today's topic? Okay, today's topic was I think Entra ID. Emmanuel, can you please remind us what topics did you cover today?
Okay, today we covered group management and external and user settings. Group management and user settings.
Group management and user settings. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for today's class. Really appreciate your time. Please, if you have further questions or clarification, you can reach out to Emmanuel via the WhatsApp group. You have his number there. Please send him a DM and he would okay, beautiful. And he would answer all your questions. See you same time next week on Saturday, 8 p.m. Same meeting link, right? And we're going to share the class recording with you as usual. Do have a good night rest and have a productive week ahead, everyone. Bye.